Good morning, sports fans, and welcome to the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL as well as 93.3 WROY. My name is Cole Carter, being joined by, of course, Chris Myers. Real quick, want to thank all of our sponsors this year: Little Giant Grocery Outlet, Rice Motor Company, Hale Body Shop, First Mid Bank and Trust, Wabash Christian Therapy, Bush & Associates CPAs, People's National Bank, Hamilton Memorial Hospital District, Rush Appliance and Furniture, Citizens National Bank of Albion, Nancy J. Winters CPA, Cherry Street Automotive, Farrell Hospital, Taylor Eye Care, Roark Transport, Wabash General Hospital, and Invenergy. So last night, the Carmi-White County Bulldogs put a beating on the Vienna-Goreville Eagles, taking them down 58-6 was the final score. It was running clock the entire second half, so the first team offense and defense for the Bulldogs got the entire second half off. And Chris, we talked about last night during the broadcast. You kind of knew what to expect. It's a Vienna team that didn't play football last year, didn't do great during that spring season, and Carmi they put it to them early, and the game was over pretty quick.
Yeah, and it's what you expected. Again, you never just show up to a game thinking we show up and just do our thing. And I know that's not the mentality of a Kurt Simon coached football team. So you were just glad to see that Carmi didn't come out, play sloppy, lackadaisical, and let them hang around. They came out early, took care of business. You knew by the end of the first quarter where it was going. Other than Vienna making a couple nice plays, a nice third down conversion early in their first drive. Bulldog defense put the clamps down, and then the Bulldogs started their first drive actually on their own too. Mm-hmm. 6 plays later, 98 yards, pay dirt, and the route was on from there.
Yeah, Bulldogs started things off at the 5:26 mark in the first quarter. Draxon Odd would run one in from 23 yards out to put the Bulldogs up 7-0, and Mitchell Edwards extra point, and that was the highlight of Chris's night.
Yes.
Made an extra point for the first time in about 6 years, and in a game like that, you can try new things. I think Edwards made 2 extra points on the evening, but Carmi led 7-0 at the 5:26 mark. Then they would force a Vienna 3-and-out, and they would cap off the next drive with an Isaac King 40-yard run. The kick was no good, so the Bulldogs led 13-0 after 1 quarter of play. First play of the second quarter, Carmi goes to the passing game, a screen pass from Warren Legg to Draxon Odd. Draxon would take it 28 yards, break a couple tackles on the way to extend that lead to 19-0 at that point. They missed the extra point with 11:47 left in the second quarter. Then on the next Vienna-Goreville possession, Trayton Vickers would pick off a pass and take it all the way to the Vienna-Goreville 4-yard line. Isaac King would run that in for the touchdown, and Draxon Odd running the 2-point play as well at the 10:35 mark there in the second quarter. Another touchdown run by Draxon Odd from 30 yards out. He would run the 2-point conversion as well. Then Andrew Dodson, a 52-yard touchdown run with an Odd 2-point conversion. And then Odd would cap things off with an 8-yard touchdown run at the 2:02 mark there in the second quarter. Vienna-Goreville would score with 97 seconds left in the first half. Carmi led 50-6 there in the first half. Couldn't recall the last time Carmi put up 50 points in one half, but dominant first half of the Bulldogs, and then to start the second half, Branton Stockton with a 70-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Noah Pollard ran the 2-point play. But, Chris, obviously there was a couple things that Carmi probably could fix. A lot of penalties last night, a lot of penalties that could have been avoided if you're the Bulldogs. But overall, I see Carmi had 6 penalties for 55 penalty yards against them last night. But overall, I mean, like I said, they took care of business, and it was just a dominant ball game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to nitpick some little things, a lot of those penalties, and I noticed probably all but maybe 1 or 2 of them occurred on special teams.
Yep.
And you talk about that. Special teams, when you're on the kickoff coverage unit, you're running downfield at full speed for at least the first 20 yards or so before you're trying to break down and make a tackle. So a lot of times, you'll see face mask penalties for the coverage team, things like that. If they're overrunning the ball carrier and trying to make a swipe at him, you see those things. The other side, if you're on the kickoff return unit, 9 times out of 10, when you see the referee throw a flag, it's a block in the back or a hold. You're trying to run down at an angle. You have the other team coming at you at a full sprint. Guys are trying to get set, find their man, and their man may get past them by a step, and all of a sudden you put your hands out. Well, instead of taking him on head on. He's behind you. You get your hand on his back. Official sees it, throws a flag. So those are things, you do want to clean those things up because, again, you don't want to go into next week with that in your system. You don't want to keep making those kinds of mistakes, especially, when field position is really going to be important next week. Yep. You don't want to have the Bulldogs get a nice kickoff return, say, out to midfield, get good field position. Well, we got laundry on the field. That's going to take it back 10 yards. You want to avoid those things. So, but other than that, up front, both sides of the ball, the line was superb again. Isaac King, Draxod, Andrew Dodson did their thing. Warren Legg, great job guiding the offense. Defensively, got to see Trayton Vickers get almost a pick six. Got tripped up there at the one. But, and that's the thing, too. What turnovers create, when your team can create turnovers, especially on the defensive side of the football, that's like setting up your offense automatically for success. When you can create those type of opportunities with field position. That pick he made that pick on Vienna's probably 40-yard line and returned it down to the 2. We just immediately go in and punch it in. Those type of things, creating turnovers, set up your offense for success. More obviously, they keep the other team from scoring, but it's just so important, the things it does for your offense, the opportunities it creates when you create turnovers.
Yeah, Carmi created 3 turnovers last night. Of course, the interception by Vickers. Landon Driscoll also had 1 interception, and Carmi recovered a fumble there late in the second half also. Stats-wise for the Bulldogs, Isaac King, only 8 carries for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, that's it.
Did Coach Simon mad at him or something? That's all he could do with 8 carries, 140 yards, man.
Draxod had 7 carries for 88 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Andrew Dodson had 2 carries, 57 yards and 1 score. Cade Allen, 2 carries, 17 yards. Kel Wiggins, 2 carries for 14 yards. Lane Gwaltney had 1 carry for 10 yards. Receiving-wise for Carmi, passing-wise, Warren Legg was 1 for 2, 28 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown pass, a 28-yard catch and run. Draxod on the receiving end. Draxon had 4 touchdowns last night. Talk about it, Isaac had all the fun in the end zone in week 1, scoring 3 touchdowns. Well, Draxon came back and scored 4 in the first half last night. So again, final score, Bulldogs get the win 58-6. Here is what head coach Kurt Simon had to say after the big win.
After the Bulldogs get a big win tonight. And Coach, I talked to you yesterday, and you kind of knew what to expect with this Vienna-Goreville team, and you guys came out tonight and took care of business.
Yeah, the whole focus for us last week was just going down to the end of College Boulevard on Tuesday and Wednesday and getting better, practicing like you always practice, and try to correct some of the things that we did wrong the week before. But obviously Vienna is in a building process, and they didn't have a team last year, so we knew that potentially it could be this type of a game. But I thought our kids did a lot of good things. It's tough to really judge some of the things in our, but we did what we were supposed to do. I guess that's the bottom line. So we were happy with their effort. We had some things. We let them throw a pass over our head, and there's some things that we can build on. But we're just looking forward to going back to work. We'll take this, Labor Day weekend and come back Tuesday. We'll come back and watch some film Monday and do some running, and then be ready to have a good week next week.
And that's something we had talked about from up here. That I know the way your kids prepare, especially with the senior group. Any opponent they face, they're treating as, hey, we got to go 100 miles an hour. The danger in games like this is when in your mind you're better than your opponent, is sometimes you may have a tendency to slow down, get a little lackadaisical. Your team did not do that tonight.
No, and you can't. And some of the penalties, and I think we'll see when we watch the film, when you're blowing a kid off the ball, and then he turns around and you're still going hard, and that's some of the penalties that we had was kind of a result of that type of thing or whatever. But our focus is always getting better every week, and that's what we're focused on right now. I'm glad to see us come out of the game with no injuries. I thought the kids didn't look real tired and things like that, so we're just going to build on it and look forward to playing Cesar next week.
Obviously, when you have a team like this on the schedule, Tuesday and Wednesday, it's tough to kind of treat it, especially as a teenager. We've all been there to treat it as if you're playing your Fairfields or your El Dorados, whatever. What was practice like this week? How was?
There was there was more enthusiasm Tuesday and Wednesday than I've seen in a long time. And I think that's just because that they know what we're preaching all weekend to them. That we have to come back out and we don't care who our opponent is. You got to play your butt off and get better. And like you said, like you made reference to, this group of seniors it's a mature group of kids, and they get it. They know what the next step is, whether it be from a practice standpoint or playing. They know what I'm going to be preaching because they've been there before. And so as of right now, it's been a pleasure working with all the kids. It's a great group of kids to work with.
Well, now that this is behind you, again, it's no secret, Hamco, Viant, teams that are rebuilding. So you did your job. You played great. Now, we go to a team that Cole, the stats guy, I asked him, when's the last time we beat them? 2014. Cesar-Valliere, right? We don't have the score update. Last we heard it, if you want to, it was 12-7, Fairfield with 9 minutes in the fourth. Yeah. Cesar's a team that is always athletic, always they can spread the field. It's just a team that we've kind of been right there, but just can't quite get over the hump.
It'll be a tremendous challenge. I would really say that Cesar probably has more skilled kids than anybody in the conference. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I know it's hard to tell with their game against Vienna. We'll get a good look at them with Fairfield, but they distribute the ball to 7 different guys, and Coach Adams does a good job of all kinds of multiple formations offensively, and he's done some things to us knowing how we play defense. I mean, they're good. They're coached well. They're good athletes, and they have had our numbers without a doubt. I mean, I think we've won 3 games versus them in the last 10 years or something. I don't know what the stat is, but they have had our number, and we are looking forward to that game more than anything.
And we were talking about that as well, because to me the challenge for your team is going to be, you're going to go from, what you faced last 2 weeks to teams that are, one of the best teams in the conference. So you're basically going from cruise control, I told him, to a drag race. Now, your team, let's say the first series, this team hasn't had a 3-and-out the whole season. They haven't. I mean, the Bulldog offense have not punted. You guys have not punted. Yeah. So say your first series, you got to punt. Yeah. To me, the thing, and I know you're going to prepare your kids for this, the mental challenge of, okay, we're somewhere we haven't been. Let's shake it. Yeah. We're in a fight. How do you prepare your kids this week in the aspect that they're going to go from 0 to 100 more or less as far as competition?
I mean, like I said, we do have a mature group of seniors. This was when they were juniors last year, they were the group that finally got us back to the playoffs. Not our seniors were great last year too, but I'm just saying they've seen it. Yeah. And they know, like I said, what to expect, and they know that they're going to face a much better opponent next week. And I would expect to see that attitude down at practice this week even more so. We feel like we're solid up front, and we have to be a physical team. You can't put the ball on the ground. You're going to have to play smart defensively, because this is going to be a much better, not only physically skilled better team, but they call plays better, and the scheming thing will come into play. So you got to play good football, and good players got to make good plays. And that's what it takes. In games like that next week, when you go back and you watch the film, it winds up being 1 or 2 plays that make the game. Yeah. So there's got to be a lot of concentration and just playing extremely hard. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah. All right, Coach. Thanks for your time. Congrats on the big win tonight. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Coach.
That was head coach Kurt Simon after the Bulldogs defeat Vienna Goreville last night, 58-6. Cesar-Valliere did go on to beat Fairfield last night. Just the second conference loss in 100 years, it feels like, for Fairfield. 15-12 was the final score there. Cesar scored with about 3.5 minutes to play, would hang on to win. And so it's going to set up for a big game next week between Carmi and Cesar. In Cesar, always a tough place to play, and as we talked to Coach about last night, Carmi has not defeated the Red Devils since 2014, so they're due, Chris.
Yeah, I am so looking forward to this game. It's just going to be the ultimate battle of 2 completely contrasting styles. We know Carmi is going to come out like we do every week. We say it, I know it's like a broken record. Carmi's attack is on the ground. You heard Coach Simon say it, and we've seen it through the years. Cesar will come at you many different ways. They could be 4 wide one play. They could be double wing the next. They could be 3 trips to the left in shotgun. They could come out in the pistol. Guys in motion constantly, option, you name it, they're going to do it. And that's kind of their MO. They're not just a lineup in a tee or a wedge and come at you. They have athletes. They're always athletic at the skill positions, the receiver positions, tailbacks, and they like to get those guys out on the perimeter. They play to their strengths. They usually have athletic quarterbacks. They're kind of, what you see on TV a lot, spreading the field, getting your athletes out in space. That's kind of what they do. So it's definitely going to be kind of the irresistible force versus the immovable object in terms of, how each team does things. But again, the challenge for Carmi is, number one, they're on the road. Number two, they've, again, not a detriment to the teams they played. They're played some teams that are rebuilding. Carmi's took care of business, looked great. Credit Carmi. But Cesar is going to kind of be what you call battle tested. They will just come off a game where they played Fairfield, and we're coming off playing Vienna. So, again,
big difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cesar's battle tested. We're about to go into our most fiercest battle of the season. So that's going to kind of be, in my mind, that's going to be the challenge for the Bulldogs when they travel to Cesar next Friday.
Other scores from around the area last night, of course, again, Cesar took down Fairfield 15-12. Flora all over Edwards County 42-3. Hamilton County shut out CZR 40-0. Johnson City a big one over El Dorado in El Dorado 42-16. In the Little Illini Conference, Mount Carmel with a big one over Robinson 62-21. Newton just able to get by Casey Westfield 11-8. And then Paris all over Lawrenceville 60-16. Non-conference games from Southern Illinois last night. Murfreesboro shuts out Anna Jonesboro 49-0. Carterville over Heron 15-11. Harrisburg gets past DuQuoin 25-14. Pinckneyville over West Frankfort 29-22. Big one for Benton over Chester 54-6. And just about all the relevant scores in terms of our area in Southern Illinois. Over in Southern Indiana, a couple of important games last night. It was Evansville Rights defeating Jasper 41-14. Boonville over Heritage Hills 20-16. Evansville Memorial shuts out Evansville Central 21-0. Castle over Bosse 56-0. It was Southridge shutting out North Posey 49-0. Gibson Southern over Washington 57-20. Evansville North over Evansville Harrison 43-20. And that's about all the scores from the Evansville area. Mount Vernon over Princeton 42-7. And Vincent's Lincoln also upsetting Mater Dei 31-28. So a lot of high school football scores from around the area last night, both in Illinois and in Indiana. We'll take our first break of the morning. When we come back, we will continue our sports coverage here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL and 93.3 WROY. Welcome back to the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL as well as 93.3 WROY. Cole Carter and Chris Myers being joined by another Chris Lucas, the Carmi volleyball coach, is stopping by this morning to chat with us. Thanks for swinging by, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
So, Chris, this is your third year as head coach here at Carmi, and of course, coming off of a historic season, regional champions last year. I know you guys have had 3 matches so far. You're 2-1. Kind of what's this season looking like, seniors-wise, and how are things going?
Well, we're excited about this season, and we have 4 seniors this year. Jeliza Duckworth, Emma Frazier, Caitlin Niehaus, and Lucy Stubblefield. And so we got a good group of seniors. We have 5 girls back that played regularly on that regional championship team last year. We lost, obviously, the best player that we've probably ever had at Carmi, Jessica Smith, but we're excited and feel like we could be even better than we were last year.
Yeah, and of course, starting off the year, you guys went to Mount Carmel, beat them in 2 sets, but then you welcomed in a tough Edwards County team. And so, on that note, kind of what's the conference looking like this year? It seems like, obviously Edwards County is always going to be good, but other teams in the BDC, what's it looking like?
It's a really good conference this year. The top 4 teams are the ones that are usually the top 4: us, Edwards County, Fairfield, and Hamilton County. And Hamilton County won 26 games last year and didn't graduate anybody. Fairfield's Fairfield. They battled North City this last weekend in their tournament, 3 sets, and North City's the best team in Southern Illinois. Nashville and North City are the 2 best teams in my opinion, so they're a load. Edwards County, we already played them. Didn't play very well, and we're right there and had an opportunity to win that, and then us. And the other 3 teams are ones that they're better, but they tend to have they just tend to struggle against the better teams. But it's going to be a 4-way race this year for sure, and it's going to be very competitive every night we go out.
And looking back to that team last year, I think it was the first time in 44 years where you guys had won a regional championship. What was that like? I mean, that's something that doesn't happen very often. And in Carmi, the droughts of a few teams winning regionals. Basketball hasn't won one in over 20 some odd years. But what was that like to be a part of that team? Of course, be the head coach and had some great players to win that regional crown.
Well, just let me back up a little bit. We've got something going at Carmi volleyball-wise. I mean, my daughter's senior year in 2020, we won 25 matches, which was a school record. And then last year was a COVID. 2 years ago was a COVID year, and we only got to play, I think, 21 games, and we were 15 and 6 that year. And then last year, 23 and 14, we had a camp this summer. We had almost 100 girls, all from Carmi there, and so just it's exciting right now for Carmi volleyball. And I knew we were good last year. I knew we had a shot. We kind of got a bad seed, I thought, in our regional, but based on our record, and so we had to go to Fairfield and try to take down Fairfield, who had already beaten us twice during the season. But we had a good feeling about that match that night, and I told our girls, there's nobody in this gym who thinks you're going to win except for the people in this huddle right here and maybe your parents and grandparents. And I mean, it was, I can't even describe what it was like. It was, I've never been a part of when my kids played. They never won a regional. I've never been a part of a regional at Carmi, a championship. And so just the community support we got, the text messages I got from all the coaches around the area after it was over with, was one of the most special feelings I've had sports-wise in my life. So, and we're building on that, and we're expecting that we're going to take home another one this year. So,
how does that? I mean, again, I remember hearing about it last fall, and you summed it up perfectly. The community was excited. I mean, it was just a great thing for the school in general. I know your girls had to be ecstatic, obviously. But how do you take something like that? The girls that are coming back this season. To me, that ought to be, hey, that was the greatest feeling we've ever had in our sports career. How do you tell this team, let's build off that? But let's not stop at just going last year. We want to do this again. What kind of, how positive is that for you to just remind the girls of that and say, hey, let's do this again?
My mindset has always been with our kids since I've been coaching at Carmi is that when you step on the floor, you should expect to win, period. And when I grew up playing at Harrisburg, we just expected to win every time we stepped on the floor, and so, or the field or whatever. And so I told the girls, you're not a doormat anymore like we have been for a lot of years, as far as volleyball is concerned. And so, but tried just to tell them that there's more than this. There's more than just a regional championship. We could compete for a sectional title this year, and they understand that. But I've got the most humble group of kids. But they are confident now, and that's a huge thing with sports. Is that a lot of times you'll see teams go on the field or the floor, and just by their body language that they know they're already beat. Our girls now have an attitude, a winning attitude of when we step on the floor, we expect to win. I don't care who the opponent is, and I think that's been one of the biggest things that has changed with volleyball the last 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about the football team, obviously. They made the playoffs last year, and people kind of know about them. Is it kind of feel in some way that you have a target on your back now that obviously you are the reigning regional champions? People know that you're no longer the format to volleyball. You guys are the team to beat. Does it feel like there's a target on your back by any means?
It does somewhat, and we like that. And we put together a schedule of the max amount of games we can play, 35 with 4 tournaments that are the best of the best in the tournaments we play. And I told the girls this year that the 4 tournaments we're in, you can't go on at the end of the year. You can't go on wins and losses. You have to go on who did we play and how are we playing when the end of the season comes. And we expect to have a great year, but I want us to play teams that are going to prepare us for when it really matters, which is regional time. And we've put together a great schedule. Our conference is good, which I love. I'm so happy that our conference is good because night in and night out, you're being tested. Not only that, our JVs are 3-0, our freshmen are 3-0. And what makes us better as a varsity team is that when we play in practice, my JV is challenging my varsity every day and actually beat them the other day. And so we're excited. We've got talent galore right now, volleyball-wise, and we're going to be good for several years.
You mentioned the tournaments you play in the regular season. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, so there's scenarios, obviously you're going to play your conference teams twice. Mm-hmm. You may see some of those conference teams in these tournaments, so you may play teams 4 or 5 times in a season and see them again the postseason. So each time you face them, when you get to that point, okay, we've played these guys 4 or 5 times, we know what they do. How does that help you in strategy the later you get in the year when you've seen the other team's tendencies? How does that help you plan for when you do get in the postseason?
I mean, it does a lot because, we play Hamilton County twice in conference and we played them at the North City tournament. They were in the Fairfield tournament at the end of the year, and then we could see them in the same way with Fairfield. That was the 3rd time we played them last year, and we have a tremendous video program called Huddle where I get video from everybody all the time. And so Jamie Brzezinski, my assistant coach, and I are kind of film junkies, so we're always watching video and defenses and where people are playing. And so whenever we go into a match, we feel like we are really prepared and let the girls know exactly defensively who's going to be where. They're double blocking the middle, where the holes are on the floor. And so I think that has been a big thing for us, is that familiarity with a lot of the teams that we play. And then postseason wise, you feel like, hey, we've seen these people before, we know where their weaknesses are, and so now we can just go attack it when it matters.
You made a good point about you guys had that summer camp and had over 100 girls show up this past summer. And volleyball is different because girls in Carmi don't play really organized volleyball until 7th grade, if that's still the case. And so, how important is it to put on that camp and to be there at the junior high level? And obviously you have other coaches at the younger levels as well. But to start them as soon as they can, to build them up so by the time they get to you up at the high school level, you can compete for regionals and sectionals.
Yeah, it's huge because we don't have the luxury that a lot of the schools do of starting their kids in 5th or 6th grade because of girls basketball, and so those kind of overlap. And so I encourage our young kids, go to as many camps as you can. I encourage them to go down to North City's camp. They have so much talent down there and such a great coaching staff, and do things the right way, and just to learn the basic skills early on, because volleyball is, to me, the most exciting sport to watch. It's you have to be athletic. You have to be you have to learn skills at a very young age, because like any other sport, if you learn things the wrong way at a young age, it is difficult to take a kid in 7th grade who has learned something wrong for 3 years and try to change that, because kids are creatures of habit. They do things over and over, and so it's very, very important. And so 100 kids all from Carmi was just unbelievable that we had that many, and I'm just glad that the community, the schools are excited about volleyball right now.
Well, along those lines, for practice, preparation during the off season, are you an advocate for club ball, club volleyball? That's a lot of travel in the area. Are you an advocate for that? Do you encourage girls to do that if they have the time and availability? The
way I look at it is that, number one, play as many sports as you can, because I encourage girls to be 3-sport athletes if you can. I mean, you need, especially in a small town like ours, you need to play all the sports if you're an athlete, period. But some girls get to the high school level and they start to think, well, I can do softball really well, or I can this really well. And so I do encourage club unless it is going to interfere with a school sport that I know they need to be playing, if that makes sense.
Right, yes.
So, But yes, if you don't play club ball right now, you're behind because all the girls tend to play club. And so, but I would never encourage a kid to play club sport and then ditch their high school team for another sport. Mm-hmm. But a lot of our girls who play volleyball, maybe in one other sport, they play club ball in the winter, and it does make a huge difference.
And so you mentioned the tournaments you guys play. It really starts next week. You guys go to Norris City on Wednesday and Thursday, and then next Saturday you guys will take part in the Benton tournament. So right off the bat, you're going to see a really good Norris City squad, I can imagine, at their own tournament next week. Kind of what are some of the teams you're going to see in those two tournaments next week?
Well, unfortunately, right now, one of our starters is hurt. July's Duckworth.
Yeah, I saw her in a boot in the hallway.
Yeah, 3-year starter, one of our best players by far, a great defensive player. So we're hoping to get her back for the North City tournament. We're not sure yet, but and then one of my backups has a concussion right now that was going to help fill in that spot, and so hopefully we'll get her back on Wednesday too. But you have to deal with that. Every coach has to deal with that throughout the season, but. Yeah, you've got North City and Hamilton County, Thompsonville, and El Dorado in that tournament. And, Hamilton County and North City are two of the better teams in Southern Illinois. So it's going to be a challenge, and we tend to sometimes play down to our opponent. And the other night against Gallatin County, we didn't play very well the first set and ended up pulling it out. But I try to encourage our girls, like you were talking with Coach Simon, you can't just expect to walk on the floor and just people are going to roll over for you. And we tend sometimes to think that we can not play as hard whenever we're playing a lesser opponent, and we're getting out of that mindset. But we have to take care of business Wednesday against Thompsonville and El Dorado, and then we play the two heavyweights, so to speak, Hamilton County and North City on the second night. So it could be interesting that last night if we take care of what we should take care of and play North City that last game of the tournament. You never know. But Hamilton County is somebody that we have struggled with in the past. They are very good, very athletic, have everybody back, like I said, from a regional championship team last year. So it's, like I said, it's battles night in and night out. Against Benton, at the Benton tournament, Nashville is there. They're the best team in Southern Illinois, in my opinion. Woodlawn is there. They're a perennial powerhouse. We have Benton, Grayville, who's always good, and Christopher in our bracket. So, again, just a solid tournament. And, we play Flora Tuesday, then we've got 4 Wednesday, Thursday, and then 5 more on Saturday. So we've got a lot of games coming up really quickly. Yep. So.
Well, and as well as a coach, you've also coached basketball in your coaching career. You're also a parent, 2 kids, and Drew's your younger son. He's one of my best friends, and Sydney as well. Both were great athletes, played 3 sports throughout their high school careers. What was that like, watching two of your kids, and Sydney, of course, a 1,000-point scorer as well on the basketball court, and great people also. What was that like to kind of watch them up close and personal, be great athletes and great people?
Well, I appreciate the compliment on my 2 kids because, obviously as a parent, you make mistakes and you mess up, and it was stressful watching them, but a ton of fun. I wouldn't trade those days for anything. And one thing that I always tell our kids is that, it goes by so quickly, and you're a freshman and you don't realize that your senior year is going to come so quickly, and then you're going to be an adult and you're going to miss all those times. And so I encourage our kids to make sure they're playing every sport that they can, because they're going to regret if they decide not to play a certain sport. But watching your kids play is you can't even describe it. It's just a feeling of pride. It's a feeling of just complete joy, because they're the ones that do the work. You hope to raise them the right way and help them to do things they're supposed to do, but then they're the ones that put in so many hours in the gym and hard work and dedication. And so one of the highlights of my life for sure was being able to enjoy that experience with my children. And now they're successful adults so far, doing great things, and they're going to continue to do great things, and I couldn't be more proud of those 2.
I have to agree with Cole 100%. Having the chance to coach your son in junior football years ago, just great kid, daughter as well, so I have to agree. You raised 2 great kids.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And just to kind of give the community an update on them, I know Drew just graduated from grad school at SIU, and Sydney's at SIUE, correct?
Yes, Drew just graduated with his master's degree from SIU Carbondale. He is working as a therapist in Paducah, Kentucky, living there. And Sydney is a junior at SIUE now.
Awesome.
So, yep.
Yeah. Well, one unvolleyball related question, and I can ask you this as a fellow Pittsburgh Steelers fan before we let you go. Who you got, Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett this year?
Well, I mean, Mitch Trubisky's obviously going to start week 1, but I don't know. They were both pretty good in the preseason, and just as long as it's not Mason Rudolph, I'm good with it. So I was hoping we'd cut him. I knew we wouldn't, but yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, we've got some pieces this year, but I mean, that's the quarterback position is obviously the position in the NFL, and so I'm going to say Pickett will end the season probably as a starter, but I'm sure Trubisky will be there in week 1. So.
Well, both of you doesn't matter. We got Trey Lance. I'm wearing my Niners hat today. So,
well, Chris, you got anything else you want to ask Coach Lucas?
Well, you've been at the helm here for a while now. Tell us just more or less what your goal is. Obviously, you want success on the volleyball court. But what life lessons do you try to instill in these girls each year in and year out? What do you try to tell them to take away just the sport itself, but what do you try to teach them about just life in general?
That's funny that you asked that question because I think the girls get tired of me counseling them because I am a counselor. And so I'll get in the huddle at practices a lot, and we'll talk about things that are sports related but really are life related. And I think they get tired of being counseled by me, but I mean, I just tell them that, this is important what you're doing, but this is not, you should not live and die by what you're doing out here on the floor. You should put 100% in, try to win, but what matters is what kind of person you end up being, what you do with your life, how you treat people, the way you handle wins and losses says a lot to me. The way you handle adversity. If you carry 1 point and you carry it 3 points down the line because you made a mistake, things are going to hit you a lot harder in life, and you have to pick yourself back up and dust yourself off, so to speak, and move on. And so I hope that I do a good job with the kids that I coach of teaching them that although sports are very important, they are not the most important things in life, and learning to be good people is what really matters.
Yeah.
You mentioned being a counselor. You've worked in Norris City for a long time, and of course, Norris City, a great volleyball school. Ever give you a hard time over there, the Bulldog Cardinal rivalry?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I haven't beat them yet, so we've been close. We played 3 sets 2 years ago at Carmi. It was a great match, and played them really tough last year at the North City tournament. But I mean, they just do a great job down there, and you can't teach 6'3", 6'4", like they've had the last with the Everett girls the last how many ever years, and they're just so big along the front line, and our outsides usually are so undersized they can jump, but we just have trouble with them because of their size. And not just that, but they are skilled at every position, and they've got one of the best freshman classes that I've seen in a long time. And those kids won state last year, were undefeated, and yeah, don't think I don't hear it down there at school whenever they beat us.
I think you bring up a great point. And, being married to a former volleyball coach, my wife brings that up a lot. Eventually, especially when you go watch the state tournaments, you can't teach size.
Can't.
When you run into teams that are just big and it's just tough.
It does, because blocking game is huge in volleyball, and you can win by playing defense. We have done it at Carmi, and that's what I preach to our girls, is being a great defensive, scrappy team. But eventually, you've got to attack and score points. And when you're hitting into 6'1", 6'2" all the time, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
So. All right, Chris. Well, hey, thanks for swinging by this morning. It was great to talk to you about volleyball and other things. And best of luck to you guys the rest of the season.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll take our second break in the morning right here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL and 93.3 WROY. Big thanks to Haley Winkleman across the hall, hitting all the buttons here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show on 97.3 WRUL and 93.3 WROY. Big thanks to Chris Lucas, Carmi Volleyball head coach, for swinging by and chatting with us this morning. As a busy week coming up for the volleyball team. Again, there, as Chris said, they're going to play Flora at home on Tuesday, so a chance for you to go out and see the volleyball team play Tuesday night. Then they'll take part in the NCOE tournament on Wednesday and Thursday. Then they are at the Benton tournament all day next Saturday. So a busy week all in all this coming week for Carmi Sports. The boys golf team will be at home on Tuesday against Flora and Gallatin County. Junior high baseball and softball will travel to El Dorado. Again, volleyball at home against Flora, and then cross country, they begin their season at the Hamilton County Invitational. Again, that's Tuesday, September 6th. Then on Wednesday, girls tennis will travel to Carbondale. Again, volleyball at the NCOE tournament, and junior high baseball travels to Gallatin County. On Thursday, boys golf is at West Frankfort. Girls tennis is at home against Fairfield. Cross country will travel to West Frankfort. And again, volleyball in the NCOE tournament, and junior high softball is at NCOE. Next Friday, the Bulldog football team will travel to Cesar-Valier, and junior high baseball and softball will play at Massac County. Next Saturday, the 10th, boys golf is at the Benton Invitational, girls tennis at the Heron Invitational, volleyball at the Benton Invitational, and then junior pro football will play at El Dorado. So all fall sports teams, both junior high and high school levels, are in action this week. There is no junior pro football game tonight. They played their annual Tuesday before Labor Day weekend game this past Tuesday. And it was 2 losses. Junior pro, the 5th and 6th grade team lost to Edwards County, and then it was the 8th grade team losing a close one to Mount Carmel at home back on Tuesday. And yeah, that's a look at the schedule for the upcoming week. Again, lots of teams in action, lots of things going on for CWC Athletics. We'll take our final break of the morning. When we come back, we will have our national sports segment right here on the Saturday Morning Sports Show. It's the Saturday Morning Sports Show here on 97.3 WRUL. Cole Carter and Chris Myers. And Chris had the audacity to walk in here wearing a Cubs shirt this morning after the Cardinals put it to them last night. 8-0 win in St. Louis.
Well, just to tell you how much I've been paying attention to the Cubs this year, I didn't even know they were playing the Cardinals. So, it just,
first clean shirt you saw, right?
Exactly. It's just something I threw on this morning. However, the hat I'm wearing, believe me,
You're
week in and
hat?
week out, I know what's going on there. So,
but as far as baseball, Cardinals did beat the Cubs last night, 8-0. Since the boss man's across the hall said the Astros did win, they beat the Angels 4-2. Cardinals and the Cubs will go back at it tonight at 6:15. College football, this is week 1. Last week was technically week 0, but a lot of interesting matchups going on in college football this Saturday, and NFL will start next Thursday, so that will take us to our terrible 10 picks. And last week, me and Chris both went 6-4. A couple games that we missed. We both had Nebraska beating Northwestern. I think half the country did also, and Northwestern.
For 3.5 quarters, I thought, hey, got that one right.
Chris had a chance. Actually, I had a chance to take the crown. I picked Purdue to beat Penn State, but of course Penn State beat the Boilermakers back on Thursday. We both had Illinois beating Indiana last night, and they lost. We both went 6-4 on the week. So now our terrible 10 picks for this coming week. We've got 9 college football games and, of course, the 1 NFL game that is next Thursday. We'll start with college football today. Number 23, Cincinnati at number 19, Arkansas. Chris, who you got?
Oh, wow. That is an absolute tough one. I'm going to go just because, this may sound simple. They're the home team. But are they playing a neutral field or is it at...
That's a good question.
Okay,
that I don't know.
Boy, that's a toss-up. As by their rankings and I'm going to go ahead and give the slight edge. I may regret this. I'm going to give the slight edge to Arkansas on that one.
Okay. Cincinnati is my least favorite city in the United States. I think I could say that. But I will pick them to win this. 23 Cincinnati at 19 Arkansas. Another good game. Number 11, Oregon at number 3, Georgia. Of course, Georgia, the defending national champs. Ooh. I'm going with the Bulldogs.
I agree with you there.
Last year.
They're at the point where Kirby Smart's got them. They're not rebuild, they're reload.
Yeah.
Kind of like Alabama's rebuild is going from 13-0 to 12-1. I think Georgia's same thing. Yeah. I'll take the Bulldogs to that one.
Another interesting game. Number 5, Notre Dame is at number 3, Ohio State. Chris, who you got?
I'd take Ohio State. They'll win that one convincingly.
Yeah, and Notre Dame never been able, I'm sorry, Brian Weaver, if you're listening, but Notre Dame has never really been able to play with the big dogs.
Yeah, he will. Wait for a text or a call from him.
But I will also go with Ohio State for that one. A couple of other ranked teams in action. Number 25, BYU is at South Florida. I will go with BYU there.
Same here.
Yep. And also number 24, Houston is at UTSA. I will take Houston there.
Same here.
And number 7, Utah at unranked Florida. That game could be interesting. Florida always competitive year in, year out, but Utah, they had a good team last year. Number 7 preseason this year.
I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to go Florida.
Really?
Florida's
okay.
at home. Again, new coach, new
I'm going to
system.
go Utah.
Florida had a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Dan Mullen just, he just couldn't get what he should have out of the talent that he had. But I think the Gators are going to take that one.
Well, Luke Simmons agrees with your pick. He's a big Gator guy. Just sent me a text. So,
All right.
but I will go with Utah here. Next, number 13, NC State at East Carolina. That one, pretty easy pick in my mind. I'll go with NC State.
Same here. I'll ride the wave on that one.
Let's see. Number 4, Clemson. Again, one of those teams that is always at the top of the poll. Number 4, Clemson at Georgia Tech. I will take Clemson here.
I will take that. That will be a blowout.
Clemson was your pick a couple weeks ago, Chris, to win the national championship. Am I correct?
It was.
Okay.
It was. Not that I want them to. I'm not saying it, but I just got that feeling that Dabo had to kind of sit out and last season kind of lick their wounds a little bit, and I think they're gonna be back in it.
Our last college football pick for the day, Colorado State unranked at number 8, Michigan. I'll make Kevin Wolf happy. I'll go with the Wolverines.
Yes, we'll hail to the victors on that one.
And then NFL, they start their season on Thursday. The defending Super Bowl champions, the LA Rams, will host the Buffalo Bills. That's a fantastic way to start the NFL season.
That's a great game.
And that's going to be a tough game to pick also.
Yeah. Rams lost a few guys to retirement.
Yeah.
I mean, they got Aaron Donald back.
Yeah.
Getting him he'd consider retiring, but he's back. As long as you have him, you have the best defense in the league generally with a player like that. But, man, Buffalo, I mean, they can score some points.
Yeah. I'm going Buffalo here.
Yeah, that quarterback he's a player now. As they say, he's a baller. So I think I'm going to go with you, Cole. I'm going to take Buffalo for I guess you call it a quasi upset start the season. Yeah.
Wonder what the odds would be there, but that is our terrible 10 picks for today as well as Thursday with the NFL starting. So again, if you've got no plans today, I wouldn't mind turning on ESPN and just hanging out today because a lot of good college football games on the schedule for this week 1 Saturday afternoon. So again, a busy week coming up for Carmi Sports, volleyball in action and a couple different tournaments, golf also. Hosting a couple of teams as well. And again, a big game next Friday as the football team will travel to Cesar-Valliere. And Chris, I don't know about you, but I'm going to be looking forward to that all week long.
I tell you what, this after Labor Day weekend to me is when it just really, the high school season kicking it off is awesome. But once college, NFL kick in, I mean, it's fall. Mm-hmm. It's September. Football at all 3 levels is out in full force, and it's a great time of the year, along with all the fall sports. It's just things get going full swing.
And again, thanks to everyone who has been watching our WRUL Sports live stream of the football games the past couple of weeks. We've had a lot of good comments, a lot of viewers watching in. I think we had over 340 some odd viewers last night for a home game, so that's pretty good. So if fans don't want to make the drive next Friday, we'll be there in Cesar to bring you all the action. Pre-game show will start around 6:45. Chris, anything you want to add before we hit the road?
Well, I'll tell you what, folks at home, if you can't make it to the game, I advise you to tune into your radios next Friday, not just because you're listening to us. No, not.
It's definitely a good reason, too.
In all seriousness, I think it's going to be a fantastic game. Carmi and Cesar, 2 teams, both 2-0, and they know each other well. And Carmi, again, it's been a while since we beat Cesar. We're going there. It's going to be a test, a challenge. I think it's going to be a fantastic football game. So if you're going there, awesome. I think you're going to watch a great game. But if you can listen, I'd tune in because I think it is going to be a fantastic football game this Friday night.
And again, the Bulldogs and the Red Devils next Friday, and we'll be on the air around 6:45 for that one. So that's going to wrap things up this morning. Again, a big thanks to Chris Lucas for swinging by earlier this morning. Big thanks to Haley Winkleman across the hall for getting us on the air. Don't forget, coming up at 10 o'clock is the Little Egypt Saturday Showcase with Luke Nelson. So for Chris Myers, I'm Cole Carter. We'll talk to you next weekend.